All right, welcome to Conversations with Cubit. My name is Wayland Cubit, and I am honored to have not only a dear guest, but a really turned out to be a really good friend. That's a national known speaker who is here in Oklahoma City speaking tomorrow at a Breaking Bread event. And Breaking Bread means that we've always said that if we're going to uh, uh, get to a place of unity and trust and reconciliation in our country, it's going to start with one-on-one relationships, with sitting at the table, breaking bread, sharing a meal with one another. And so as we decided that we wanted to have a meal where we were brought people in to have intentional conversation about race and justice, that we would do it over breakfast or over lunch. And so that's what we're doing in Oklahoma City on Tuesday, the 25th of May. And so the night before, I had the honor of hosting our keynote speaker, Chris Singleton. If you don't know Chris Singleton, you're never going to forget the power and influence that this man has at such a very young age. And I'm honored to have been riding around with him all day long. And we've just been sharing stories and sharing perspective. And so I thought, you got to come talk and tell them what you're going to tell us tomorrow, because everybody is not going to be able to come to this event tomorrow. And so John Mendendorf and I are going to chop it up about how Chris did and the message that he did. But before this, I want you to get to know my friend, Chris Singleton, and why his story brings him here to Oklahoma City. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you being here,
Of course.
taking in the raggedy backyard of Oklahoma City. We don't have I don't know what the weather's like in where you're from right now.
It
But
feels good here, man. It feels good outside, but it's about 85 and sunny where we're at. Maybe even hotter than that. So
yeah,
it's good weather for sure.
yeah. So you're from Charleston,
I am.
and you are a hero in Charleston. And the reason I call you a hero in Charleston is because in 2015, this tragic event, and I'll let you talk about as much or a little as you want to talk about this tragic event that happened not only in our country, but it happened in your home. It happened in your family. And in that tragic event was supposed to set off a race war. And it had all the makings of one.
Yeah.
And here in Oklahoma, we know all about those type of things that
sure.
happen. In fact, we're getting close to a 100-year mark of an event like that. But you stopped it single-handedly with an expression of love. And I was inspired by it. I talked about it all the time. And so when the opportunity came to bring you to Oklahoma City, I thought, this is the perfect time and the perfect event to do it. So thank you for being here. But tell us a little bit how you end up in this position.
For sure, man. I appreciate that, number one. But, I say I grew up and I didn't want to be a speaker or anything like that. I had two things I wanted to do. My mom was a teacher, right? And I loved baseball. So I wanted to make it to the big leagues, right? Number two, I wanted to buy my mom a Range Rover. That's all I wanted. I wanted those two things and those two things only. But unfortunate circumstances happened. Like you mentioned, my mother was one of 9 victims that were taken away at Mother Emanuel AME Church. And after the shooting, I actually forgave my mother's killer. And I said, love is always stronger than hate. So if we just love the way my mom would, the hate won't be anywhere close to where love is. People got those words. They grasped on those words. And we locked arms together, right? We prayed together. And the man who wanted to start a race war in our country realized that did not happen in Charleston, South Carolina. And so that's why I do the work that I do now. I really go to different organizations, different companies, different schools, different churches even, right? Just sharing a message of unity. Because I think I have so much hope that I think if somebody would have taught the way I teach people or the way that you teach people, then there won't be another Dylan Roof that comes around and takes lives because of the color of someone's skin. So that's what I do, man, and I'm honored to be doing that here with you guys.
Yeah. So how are you gonna start it off? I'm curious. I'm just really anxious about how you're gonna usher in unity, but we have some really tough questions that we want to wrestle with. What's your plan?
Sure. So what I usually do is, man, we always talk about the power of stories, right? And I think you're a phenomenal storyteller yourself. So with me, I kind of, get all the walls broken down by just sharing my story. I share my story in such a way that people have to they'll get emotional hearing about the details, because When I get into the hard conversations, I want them to know, hey, Chris has the credibility to speak on it because he's lived through it. And so I never have the backlash of, oh, this or oh, that, because they hear, not only has he gone through it, he shared it at such a level that, man, I felt like I've kind of gone through something like that too. And so I'll start with my story, and then I get right into it about how I think we could have conversations with people that have different viewpoints than us. And we shared a little bit about it before off camera, but oftentimes we forget that people have a story behind their opinion. And the way that I do it in a demonstration where I basically share my opinion on something, a very controversial thing, right? But before I do it, I set it up by telling my story.
We can talk about this controversial thing because,
yeah.
Right. So you're in Oklahoma.
I am.
And you just learned today.
I did. I learned something new today, man.
You learned something today as we were walking through the National Bombing Memorial, the National Memorial downtown. And there's a whole reason why we went there, but and you found out that Timothy McVeigh had a weapon on him, which caused him to be arrested on a traffic stop.
Yeah.
And we said to you, if that was to happen today, there's nothing we could do about the gun.
For sure.
Because he could legally carry the gun.
Yeah, and I didn't know. Like, I knew the rule, but I didn't know it's like, hey, you just wherever you want to go, like it's there. And I didn't know. I figured, hey, you need to have such and such with you, and
a license, or something like that. Yeah, that changed. But then you shared to me that you have a special, you have a thought about guns, period.
Yes, and I'll share it. But this is the way that I share it.
Okay.
So I always say with me, I unfortunately had to take care of my brother and my sister at a young age, right? I was 19 years old taking care of 2 teenagers. My father passed away, and my mother, who was the nicest woman in the world, she was shot 6 times while she was praying. So because of that, my stance is I don't like guns. And I think people can understand why I don't, because my mother had closed her eyes during Bible study and was shot 6 times with one. So I think people understand why I don't. But I shared my story before my opinion, right? You see that now, don't you?
Yeah, I got it.
But if I would have just came out and said, hey, I don't like guns, maybe somebody that does like guns, they're going to stop listening to me because they're saying, oh, man, here we go. Another person doesn't like guns.
That's right.
I love guns my whole life. I've loved them and this, that, and the third. And they'll be thinking about their story, about why they do love them. And I always say on the flip side, I have a friend of mine, and I'll make it short, right? Long story short, he grew up hunting with his grandfather, and his grandfather passed away, but he still goes hunting all the time. And so he loves guns, right? But he's one of my very good friends, and he knows my story, and I know his story. So guess what? We can agree to disagree on that, right? Because he knows my story, and he understands why I don't like them. And I understand why he loves them, his grandfather. Man, he had that connection with them. Nobody ever be able to take that away from him. But vice versa, he knows Chris was deeply affected by gun violence. And so that's why he has a stance that he has. But I think far too often, we think about ourselves and our stories, and we forget the person on the other side has a story just like ours, but maybe it causes them to have a different opinion.
So help me with that. I'm connected to guns because of my all of my reasons. My personal story connects me to guns.
Yeah.
Your personal story says I'm disconnected from them.
Yeah.
Don't want to be around them. You and I got to travel. I got to drive you back home tomorrow. I always travel with my gun, Chris. I always travel with my gun, and you never travel with one.
Yeah.
We are at a crossroads. We got to deal with this. We have to make a decision. We have to deal with this. How are we getting through this moment? How are we getting through this tough time?
I think this is the way we do it, because you will respect me enough. You will say, you know what? I'm going to make sure he doesn't see my gun, right? I'm going to have it on me to make sure I feel safe, but I know that just seeing them makes him feel a little bit eerie because of his story. That's one way we can do it. Another way I see people do it is, hey, with one of my best friends, Rashard, he always likes to have a gun with him. But if we go in somewhere, he said, okay, I'll just leave it. I'll leave it in the car, Chris. I know I usually take it to this place, maybe that place, but I'll leave it in the car just because I know Chris doesn't feel, he feels a little bit different about it.
There's a consideration
because
for the other.
There is. He knows my story. And he respects me enough as a human being to say, you know what? I love Chris, right? I know how it makes him feel. So I'm going to take that in consideration with my actions. Now, vice versa, if somebody says, Chris, this happened to me, that's why I always want to keep it with me. I say, I totally understand that. Now, if you wouldn't mind, would you just untuck the shirt for me, man?
Right.
Just so I don't have to see it, you
right.
know? And if they know me and my story, they say, you know what? we can both win in this situation. We can both feel comfortable. I'll keep it on me. Maybe I just will untuck my shirt. Maybe I have it in a place that Chris can't just see it. And so that's something that I've seen people do practically in my life, right? That I think even though we have different opinions on something, it doesn't mean we have to hate one another.
So it starts with I have to know their story, which starts with relationship.
Oh, that's huge.
We got to have authentic relationships so we can unpack the story.
That's huge. And you want to know what else we do with relationships? Now, I don't know if I'll share this or not tomorrow, but this is what I've realized about relationships, okay? When I have a relationship with somebody that thinks differently than me, okay, on a certain topic or certain opinion, if we have discussions about it behind closed doors, I won't get canceled. I won't. Because if I say the wrong thing, you know what they're going to do? They're going to teach me in that moment, right? But if I don't know them, I don't know anything about a person that thinks that way, I automatically assume something, say that in my mouth, right? People hear it, and people that don't agree with it,
shut down.
They shut down and they cancel me. They don't want to hear anything else. But if you have a personal relationship with somebody, I'll give you a quick example. I shared the words, I said, it doesn't matter what your sexual preference is. I said that one time during a diversity and inclusion speech. And somebody sat me down, they said, Chris, you should say your sexual orientation. They said, hey, Chris, I didn't choose to be this way. This is the way that I am. This is what they told me. And you know what? They didn't cancel me. In fact, they actually brought me back to that school to share again because they know my character and they know who I am. So they use that moment to teach me because I'm in the space, but I'm always learning. It's more things we always try to learn, different terminology. And so they didn't cancel me because of that relationship. Had I not had the relationship, they would have wrote me off. I'm not bringing this guy back.
That's it.
He don't care. They knew that I did though, so they didn't. So that's what I'd say is huge for sure.
So the advice that you give people sitting down, strangers, for the first time. This is going to happen tomorrow. They're going to be sitting around tables for the first time, and we're gonna throw some bombs at them. How do you say we go with these conversations? Like, this is going to happen. How should they be coming in tomorrow, knowing that they're going to be talking about a tough subject, and they think they know the answers to it? Like they think I have a perspective.
Well,
and
they have their answer. Yeah,
I have the answer, right?
And they have they may think their answer is the only way too, right? The only way. Some people say, Chris, 3 + 1 is 4, and that's the only way it can be 4. When you're like, no, I know 2 + 2 is 4. I don't know what you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whereas we both may be correct, but in different ways of thinking about it. So this is what I say to people all the time. Okay. Now, first of all, we have to want to have those conversations. Now, I think that people that are coming, I hope they actually
they're showing up.
They actually do want to have those conversations, right?
You should probably start with that. Like, why are you here? Like, what made you come today? Yeah,
I hope that you want to get something from this and not just pat your ego on the back with this one, right? But you go into it, and it has to be a no ego zone, right? I can hear something from somebody else and totally disagree with it, right? Maybe I even have the facts or whatever it is in my mind that I know what they're saying may not even be true, right? But if I have an ego about it, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say this or say that. It's going to aggravate that person, and they're going to hate my perspective even more after the event. That is the last thing I think we were trying to accomplish tomorrow. So we go into it with a certain level of respect for every single human being that we're sitting next to, regardless of where they're from or what their perspective may be, their political party. And when you go with the open mind, man, I've seen people walk out of the room and say, Chris, I'm 57. For the first time I realized racism is a choice. I've seen it happen. But you got to go into it with an open heart and an open mind.
Man, I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I'm looking forward to your stories. I'm looking forward to the change that comes behind that story. And I really want to thank you just for being the man that you are. I can tell you, and I think I told you this earlier today, and I'll say it so the whole world knows it, is that I played your video, the story that they did of you maybe right after the event, E60, I think it was on ESPN.
Yeah.
And I saw that you forgave your mother's killer like the next day. On national TV, you expressed, I forgive that man. And so I play that video for some teenagers who have a whole lot of reasons to be mad and angry. They've been left by a parent. They've been neglected by a family. The system they felt like has robbed them or cheated them in some kind of way. And so I talk about them in that anger. But after I play your video, I go, how would you respond if you were him and that was your mother? And they had a whole lot of reaction. And I said, I agree with your anger, but the standard has been set. Like I would probably not act like Chris Singleton did, but I would want to. My response should be that response. How you got there, what your mother did did to get you there, is the recipe that we all need to be mixing up in our kitchens right now, right? The recipe of forgiveness and love and unity, and that what happened for you is you used a tragic moment to create unity in a city.
Yeah.
And by being here today and speaking tomorrow, what you're going to do is create unity to prevent a tragedy from happening like the one that happened to you and your mother. And so I appreciate you being here, and I can't wait not only for tomorrow, but for years of stories and success and life-changing things you're going to do in our country. So thank you for being here.
I appreciate that.